Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me, and we're back. Yesterday I mentioned that I am now done with my spring goals, so everything I had set out to do, I've accomplished, which is awesome. In Again, in all honesty, I really thought this was going to take way longer than it ended up taking. But just very, very fortunate that I was able to get things done as kind of quickly as I did. And now we're on to the question of what next. Well, as you can see on the screen here, we get a little bit of bonus time. We got a little bit of, in football terms, we got some garbage time. Some about 5 weeks to kill before we get into kind of the next phase of my writing journey, which will be working on the self-publishing process for my novel this summer. I decided, because I really had not put much thought into what was going to happen when I hit this, but yesterday I ended up deciding that I was going to do another story. So we're going to do another first draft of a story. I don't know if it'll take 5 weeks. Maybe I'll get that done quickly as well. I don't know. The scope of it's going to be very, very small. It's going to be really, I'm thinking probably the shortest one I've done yet. Maybe around like 4,000 words, something like that. It might grow as I tell it, but I'm anticipating it being a very, very small story here. Tonally, I don't know if it's going to fit with the rest of my collection here. It'll be on the same theme, the same, I mentioned before, this collection takes place in the same town, amongst kind of the same kind of group of characters and all that stuff, in the wake of a very tragic event. Tonally, this might be not quite as dreary as perhaps some of the other stories have been. It might be a bit more lighthearted. And in all honesty, I was thinking at first, I'm like, it ain't gonna fit with this collection. You can't have something like this kind of lighthearted. But I think the approach I take in sort of the way I use it, I think will add a lot of levity to it, and I think it'll add a lot to the collection here. Again, not every story you write is going to be the best one of a certain collection. It's not always going to be the favorite of you or even your readers. There are some stories that you write just because it's fun to work on. It's a fun story you want to get out. It's something that's in your head. And yeah, don't worry so much about it being, needing to be, this really deep, exploration of the human experience. Some stories can be a little bit lighter. And that's probably what this story is going to be. It's a little bit lighter, just a bit of a different take on it, I suppose. So today that's what you're seeing on the screen here, was just me getting started with it. Spent, did my good afternoon session here. I wasn't necessarily jumping in with needing to do even a 90-minute session. It wasn't even here for 90 minutes today. This was a rather light session. In fact, I think the next ones might be light. Now that I'm in this sort of, extra time state, I'm not necessarily feeling myself needing to rush right now. And when I don't feel like I need to rush, when I don't feel the impulse, when I don't feel like I have to get things done quickly, I generally don't. I generally tend to go at that kind of leisurely pace. And then, as you've seen before, eventually I'll go leisurely pace and go, okay, you got to make some progress here. All right, let's go. And then you'll see me pull one of those, those big all-nighters or one of those long sessions, and I get this all done. Tends to be how I operate, and I don't see this being any different. I'm not saying it's the most effective way of writing these stories. I'm sure there's a much better way to approach it, but I just feel like I'm ahead of myself right now. I feel like I'm ahead of everything I wanted to do, and I can kind of just take it a little bit easier. So with that, first words are down, the first paragraphs are in, and we'll see where the story heads. It's a good position to be in right now for me, where I'm not stressing out about it. I can kind of just approach it very casually. Yeah, and we'll see what we end up getting at the end of this whole thing.